Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's KPIs podcast. I am your host, Kurt Vogt, and this week our guest is Drew Clarke, who is the EVP and General Manager of the Data Business Unit at Qlik. And we're not going to just talk about data. I picked Drew's brain because I saw he had an interesting career around how he pivoted to different things and pivoted into place. And one of his stories is how he was selected for a job where he did not feel he was necessarily qualified for, and somebody said, "That's why we like you." So make sure you listen to this, enjoy it. There's some great points about how to go wide and go deep with the company and how to think about being mentored and to mentor others. Hope you enjoy this week's podcast. I am joined today by Drew Clarke, who's the General Manager and EVP of the Data Business Unit at Qlik. Drew, thanks so much for joining me today.
Really glad to be here, and thanks for the time.
We're going to talk about a couple different things today, but the first thing I always like to start out is, how did you come to Qlik? Kind of tell me that story.
That's 13 years ago, right? So it's like,
We only have so much time, but yeah.
okay. So a couple of things, right? I've always been in enterprise software kind of companies. Once I got left the army, and then I got into technology. I loved it, and the practical use of technology to make the world a better place is something that I've always been doing. And I was at Cognos IBM and competing against Qlik and losing quite a bit. That was number one. If you can't beat them, join them. Number two, a really good friend of mine, Anthony Dayton, was the chief technology officer here at Qlik. He and I worked together at Siebel Systems a long, long time ago. And we were sitting having coffee, and he approached me, or we were talking about careers, different options. And he's like, "Well, would you consider joining here to look after strategy and M&A?" I was like, "Well, yeah, that sounds really exciting, except I'm not a full-blown banker M&A guy. I'm a product uh,
Minor detail.
sales, a little minor detail. I was running kind of sales,
Okay.
channel sales, marketing, product marketing, a number of different jobs, and I was doing M&A at IBM, but I wasn't one of those Wall Street guys." And he goes, "Perfect, because we don't want a Wall Street guy." And then I interviewed with the CEO, the board, and joined 13 years ago.
There you go. That's interesting. I think it's fascinating, that story, and then the culture that I feel like I've seen it click in my 4+ years that I've been here is there is this continued thing within Qlik that's like, "Hey, we think you'd be good for this job." And you're like, "But I don't have the necessarily the qualifications." And people oftentimes say, "That's why we like it. You think differently." That's a unique thing about the culture. I've seen that, and people, Brendan grabbing some people from sales. I've seen that from marketing, grabbing some people from different places. Like, do you think we benefit from hearing people that think differently from different departments to bring a more holistic thought to how we move Qlik ahead?
Oh, absolutely. And that's actually a big piece that I come and think about, right? And particularly, as we think about the diversity of thought, right? And there's a lot of kind of discussions about diversity inside of a company and an organization. And, we have great ERG programs. I'm the sponsor for the LGBTQ plus kind of group, and we just finished Pride Month. And there's a lot of kind of emphasis around kind of in embracing kind of the diversity of individuals, but diversity of thought is really powerful. And that comes in kind of taking a different perspective to a job and a role. And if there's hunger, appetite, capacity to do and make, do different things, we have great opportunities for individuals at the company. And, like I'm going to do a shout out to Pete Letty. So Pete Letty was pre-sales at Qlik. Then he became part of the industry kind of team. And then I worked with him on a project as we were going into the subscription management. And then I started to get to know him, and we would create and expanded out the corp dev role. He joined and started doing corp dev, and he had never done that before. He had an MBA, but he had a sales technical kind of perspective, and but he had the appetite. And he and I kind of did the Attunity acquisition really as partners. to get that done at the scale and the volume, and there were no bankers involved. It was just the two of us. And now you look at Pete, he's running our internal kind of data and analytics kind of team, the integration with Talend. And going from director to now vice president.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about career a little bit because you've played different roles over the years. That's a great story about Pete. Um, there are techs in a squeeze lately, right? We're in the middle of a squeeze, especially the SaaS business. We've seen a bunch of companies, competitors, and others doing these layoffs because budgets are being trimmed, all these things. What would you say is your career advice to people anywhere, but really in tech, to stand out and to build a strong and lasting career at a company?
Yeah. So, Kurt, when I think about individuals, and skill sets, and people ask, like, oh, where I have to leave to get promoted, right? And I was like, well, the person who's gonna, or the next company that's gonna hire you, or if you're gonna work on that, is gonna hire you for the job you're doing now, right? And so, if you're in sales and you go, the next company is going to hire you for sales, or if you're in marketing, field marketing, demand gen, they're going to hire you for that. But if you're interested in kind of expanding your career, which is what I've done, was you expand your career from your function and you add and get involved, get aware of kind of new projects, and then that creates new opportunities for you to try new areas, get into. So I went from marketing to kind of running channel sales to then inside sales. People would bet on me because they knew me and they knew the performance, and they would give me that chance to kind of experience new things. So I've always had my career, and I would say today, even with technology, and answer your question of if you're interested in doing different things, the best place to do different things is where you currently work. And you have political capital, you have that, but you need to be known. You need to have a track record of can do, proof, curiosity, get that engagement, and then new things can open up in new career paths. Pete's one example. I've got other examples here at Qlik where you see people take on different roles, and then you're amazed and kind of see that. So I would encourage you to think about I think you're a great example of this too, right?
Thanks. Yeah. Found myself doing these videos and dressing up in dinosaur costumes. Listen, this could be you too, person listening to this. You too could dress up in dinosaur costumes and run around in promotional videos. So this guy,
Right, right.
the
But then
possibilities are endless.
Right, but then you back into, okay, so like that was fun. And by the way, that was a fabulous, particularly getting Mike Capone and you talking on it.
Thanks.
But look at the science behind what you did, right? It's like, okay, watching how the teams do the production value, then how does that get put into the social media? Where does it go? How does it get liked? Where there is a science to all of that. And you got exposed to all of it, right?
Right.
And it's
Right.
like not just the fun front end, there's a whole back end. Yeah.
One of the things you said about being known or becoming known. Any advice on how to do, there's ways to be known that aren't good, right? And then there are ways to become known that are really good. Any suggestions, thoughts on like what are great ways right now to become known in a company?
Well, yeah, you add in like one, we've always been a diverse, location company, right?
Yep.
So geographically dispersed, development teams, engineering. We've never been a company that was all monolithic in one location, like a Salesforce.com. If you wanted to have a career there, you had to be at headquarters, right? That was always the way they were built. And so we've always had that dispersion. But I think with COVID and then the dynamics of what that's happened has made it harder for people to connect beyond the individual, task at hand. And so I would say there would be two things that I would suggest, right, for individuals, and they were true before COVID, but they're still true now. One is, be curious on how to improve, the state of the company, the organization, your team. And you're like, wow, if we could do something, slightly different here, and then go do it, right? And then you have to actually get people to know about that. And so the number one is the curiosity. Look for something just even in the scope, and I could improve here to do it. The second piece of advice is think about your own personal network of a kind of a four high, four wide, four deep, right? So 4x3. And you want to have people who are above you, besides your chain of command, four people above you who are aware of you and what you're doing. And a little thing could be like, hey, I've tried to improve kind of this part of the job and kind of market, and you can do an informational interview. You can get known for wide or your peers, right? And so it can't be in your team, basis, but it would be if you're sales consultant for the West region, does somebody know you on the East region? Does somebody know you in Europe, right? And you think about, comparing and building a network of peers that way. And then for deep is like, okay, individuals who might be supporting roles to kind of your own role. Everybody has inputs, outputs, inputs, you do your job and you have outputs. So you have teams that are kind of giving you inputs, needing outputs. So get to know for people that way, and that builds out a network. And you take your first piece plus your network, and you get to be known, and new opportunities can come up.
That was a really great explanation. Like I haven't heard anybody break it down like that before, but as for somebody starting out, be like, I like this company. I want to grow here. I see a path, but I'm like not sure. That's some very not necessarily simple steps, but you can map that out and then start to tackle that. And to everybody out there, like it's not you're not going to do this in 2 weeks. Like it does take time, right, to build that network. It takes time to understand and to prove yourself out. And kind of the first part, like show up, be there, show that you're valuable, you've hit metrics and all that stuff. And then that will get you known, but then expanding that other way to seek information, seek feedback. Like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. I'm trying to figure this out. Mentorship, they're great things. And one thing I'll add, and I heard it said really well by somebody one time. He's like, everybody wants a mentor, but most mentors don't know what that means. And the mentees have no idea what that means. And what mentees want is, I want you to mentor me. I'm going to come and for half an hour, you're going to talk at me. And the mentor goes, that's sounds like a lot of work. And I had somebody break it down one time. If you want to be mentored, reach out to that person and say, I believe you'd be a great person to be mentored. I would like to set up some sort of schedule every month or whatever it is. And a few days ahead of time, I'm going to send you the questions I'd like to cover that are on the top of my mind. If I don't have questions, we don't need to meet. And it puts the ownership back on the person who wants to be mentored, to do some work, to learn, and to really think through that relationship rather than just suck the life out of someone.
Yeah, well, I follow exactly that, right? With both the individuals I mentor as well as my mentors, right? So it's here's top of mind, here's the topics, it could be career advice, it could be tactical advice. Like some of the good questions I have come up with some of the mentoring relationships that I've had is the individuals say, I'm struggling with this, and how do I go about, solving this particular area? And I'm not comfortable, at this point, I'm not comfortable with brainstorming on this with my own boss because there's a little bit of maybe I'm a little insecurity on not lack of knowledge and so yeah, I mean, and that comes with trust and kind of building out that kind of that area. But that, and then you're right on. Do the prep beforehand. That makes it a lot more productive and valuable.
AI is all the buzz, right? We keep hearing about it, more people are talking about it, but I think like from maybe I'm behind as a, legacy analytics seller, but it feels like we think about that a lot from that side of analytics and specifically about how data is then being delivered or accessed, right? And getting answers from it and all that stuff. Where do you see AI playing into the data pipeline and the kind of the side of the business that you manage?
Yeah, actually, this came up yesterday. It was a customer call. And I just came from Asia, Singapore and Sydney and Japan, and it was all big topics of on it. And so I'd say it's from a simplification perspective, AI has two kind of areas from the data foundation or the data business unit. One, how to use AI to improve the data engineer's job, right? To be more productive, more effective, improve the velocity of building the pipelines, right? And so, and that's the same, that's what AI and generative AI is doing across every function. It's improving the productivity of the individuals to be more efficient. That's number one. Number two is actually the more exciting part, I think, in opportunity for us as Qlik, is it's a new, I would call it destination for data pipelines, right? So, we're in the business of moving data from where it's generated. It could be from a credit card transaction to a manufacturing kind of plant, robotic production to a trade, an electronic trade for stock, right? There's data being generated all the time. And we're in the business of moving that data to where it need and adding value to it, transformations, and then getting it to where it needs to. Vanguard runs 400 million of these a day, right off the mainframes, but it goes into three different destinations. And typically today, one, it could be in a streaming kind of platform. All right. So, all right, I need streaming. Think of it as like your Waze and doing your navigation and recommendations on that. Number two, it could go into a data lake, which is used for machine learning or AI data scientists kind of building out. The fraud detection is a great, example of what that data flow goes into. And then a data warehouse, right? So Snowflake, and that's like operational analytics. That's where we spend most of our time as analytics sellers, kind of thinking around operational kind of analytics. So you already have these three destinations for data movement. Think of them as pulling data through. Generative AI is the fourth, right? And so this is a whole new pipeline paradigm that is going to need data at real time that's going to pull, and think of it as if we're in the business of building pipelines, think metaphorically water. You have three different ways of needing water. A new fourth one is coming on, and it's just going to need more data. Could still be coming from that one mainframe. Got four reasons to need it, and we're going to be in that business. So those are the two ways AI are, I think, going to have an impact on us as a company, and particularly as the data business unit.
Now, you mentioned kind of over in Asia Pac and that some of this was being talked about there. Might I add, you posted some amazing pictures on LinkedIn from your time over there. What were some of the key takeaways that you were hearing from the holistic perspective of what people are struggling with, what people are excited about, and kind of moving into?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I was in three cities, 20 customers, about 20 partners, media analysts, and generally it all went on a theme of knowing with confidence that there's an opportunity to use data and analytics to make a difference, right? Could be if you're a government organization, it's about mission and citizens. If you're a for-private industry, it's around kind of improving your productivity, profitability, revenue, different aspects. So the themes are still there, but a couple of kind of new aspects. One, man, our analytics business is alive and well, right? Qlik Sense is, standardized in companies like DMP, right, which has got 30,000 users. DMP is a media electronics company out of Japan, 30,000 Qlik Analytics customers. Now they so I met with the team there, and they are looking for like, well, how do we get the next generation of data so that it's more timely and more effective? So they're building out a data mart, data ware lake house, and how do you feed the data into it that then supports the analytical use cases? So as they're thinking about the back end to kind of the analytics, and how do you find it? The data products, the whole concepts. So, that was one theme. Another theme was around kind of our SAP ecosystem. There's a big initiatives going on within SAP customer base who are migrating and moving, into the new S/4HANA. They call it the RISE program. How do I work and get the right data to the right place, right? So Fujitsu, already a big Qlik Analytics customer, a big data integration customer, now taking it to the next level of kind of looking at the opportunities. Komatsu, big excavator kind of company, they are, using and looking at Qlik data integration to feed into this new data lake, this lake house kind of paradigm. So I'd say the takeaway from all these visits and, also at the Gartner conference was our capabilities are right where the market needs, where it's going. There's opportunity, reinforces our messaging that we shared at Qlik Connect. There are different points, depending on where a customer might be, of what's important for them, but we have the solutions, and what they're really looking for is a partner and a customer who has other customers who are doing this. Because this was always like, and generally the questions at all these meetings was like, tell me who else is doing this. Well, let me explain to you. And you give these examples of other companies and customers. Oh, and we're that partner. We're that, individual who runs at scale or independent. All that resonates. So great trip. The opportunities there, and and the teams. It's an exciting time to be a part of Qlik, I think, for the opportunity ahead of us.
Agreed, agreed, and I'll add to that too. It's so interesting when you're with customers and they ask that question. Many times there's customers who are like, "We're the only ones who are ever doing it and thinking about it like this," and it's like, no. But then there's the thing too. It's like, no, you're not. But like that's okay. You are on the journey. These customers are done, and we have stories to tell, and they have stories to tell. They're right where you are, right? And to be able to share that holistic viewpoint of like, nope, you're right where you should be. Here's some of the next steps. We have a proven track record on this, and then putting them at ease, going, oh, Qlik does know what they're doing. Qlik has a plan. Qlik has helped these other humongous customers do the movement that they need to do for such a time as this, right? Cool. There's trust in that. And it's
Yeah.
exciting to see, and it's great to hear those stories.
Yeah, and that would be like, I think, I love talking with technical people and, who use technology to build transformations for a company, on that side. And then, as at 4 years, you probably feel like you've been here a long time. Uh, but I've been here 13
Not, yeah,
years.
not
That's crazy.
13.
But no, but you take that and you think about all the benefit and the packing of experiences with all the different customer interactions. And that's the power of kind of getting to know. And if, I would say for people listening to this, get to know customer examples and use cases, and not just the high level, like, what the website would say. Get down into the details of, oh, you're using this to move, mainframe data from trade volumes over to kind of the division that's doing private now, health client. How much data are you talking about? How does that move in there? And ask those little questions every time you're with a customer or adjacent to a customer, because those stories give us the credibility and frankly are inspiring. It's, you'll be like, wow, we do that? Yeah. Kurt, you asked, why I joined. There were three reasons that I ultimately made the decision to join 13 years ago. And those three reasons are still true today of why I'm excited about the opportunity today and going forward. One was the tech. I'm a nerd. It's like, okay, the associative engine, back with the Qlik, was cool. We have differentiated tech there still. It's the key differentiator. Number two was the kind of global kind of diversity and of individuals who are here. The people I've met, I've worked with, I continue to work with, are inspiring from all over the world, right? And that is, really cool. And then the final part is that, it's our mission to make a world a better place through data and analytics. What we do with the United Nations, what we do with direct relief, what we do with mercy ships. It's like, wow, okay, I'm making an impact in the world by being a member of this company. And, we think more than just, speeds and feeds or dollars and cents. We're making the world a better place, right? And so those are the three reasons I joined. Those are the three reasons I'm still here.
Still true. That's awesome. So you mentioned kind of holding true to what we talked about Qlik Connect, and one of the exciting announcements that just came out was what we have called a couple different things in the fall before is this year, the AI reality tour. And we're going to be all over the world. We're going to be in Asia Pac. We're going to be in Europe. We're going to be in North America, which includes Canada, South America, and a few stops in the US as well. I'm sure you're attending some of these, kind of what would be your call to action? Why should people attend this fall?
Yeah. So you want to see practical, how to, this is a place to come, right? The whole reason we're calling it the AI reality tour is that this is not just experiments. This is not kind of, oh, I could do this or I could do that or generate
Six
a new
months from
image.
now,
Yeah.
eventually you'll be able to do that with Qlik, right? Yeah.
And, there's so much experimentation going on. There's a lot of scenarios, but we want to get grounded in the reality of like, how does it get pragmatically used for value? That's why you come, right? So I would call it's what it says. It's the reality. It's pragmatic. It's, seeing how you can use today's tools to improve your ability to do your job from a data or business kind of analytics perspective, and also to work with your corporation to improve the velocity of using data for these business outcomes. And that's why you come.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. They're going to be fun. I know they're pulling different panel discussions where people are at various spots in the journey to kind of hear that, because we don't just want the perfect stories, right? They're always great to hear, but we want the like, hey, we struggled, we missed this, we're still implementing this, because that's real. Like, everybody's in the journey. So Qlik's always been good about that. So that's awesome. Do you know which stops you're going to be at?
Still working out the
Okay.
details. There's so many that we have, and it's exciting. I just saw from marketing, the list, new kind of places are adding and coming up. So still working on exactly where I will be, but I would like to think that, what we were doing in Asia with Sydney, Singapore, and Tokyo. We've got those are stops, but there's a ton of momentum and opportunity there. New York City, so many good customers there. I will for sure, be at that one. I know that one for sure. And still working out on Europe, and we've got great teams, great people, excited about having all kinds of individuals be a part of them.
Well, Drew, thank you so much for taking some time with me. If you guys aren't following Drew on LinkedIn, make sure that you do that. He's posting some great stuff, some of his travels, what he's learning with people, some interviews that he's done. So, Drew, thanks so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for the time, and always, an opportunity to meet the dinosaur, right? Got it.
There you go. Thanks so much, Drew.